I wouldn't really recommend this whole no warm-up strategy, but when the weather looks like this and you got a tee time and it tells you you can go right now, you go right now. So today we are out at Teravista Golf Club. I don't know if this is the right term, but I hear a lot of Americans use it. I think it's the sister club to Falcon Head and Every Ranch, which I both played already. So this is the third course, which is in that group of courses. So I came out here today just to check it out and see how the course looks like. My first impression is that it's definitely a lot more wide open than the other two courses that I've played, but we will see as it goes along. Why does this happen every time I want to play a new course? Why? So the last time I played in a new course, you guys were like, and I said I don't know where I'm going. You guys told me to look at the scorecard, and it's even worse this time because they didn't even give me a scorecard and there wasn't a starter. You kind of just pay and go to the tee box. So I didn't know where to get one, so I don't have one. So the only things I have to base myself off today is this right here. And well, all you really need is a rangefinder, so I've got that, so I should be good. So the second hole was still a pretty wide hole. There were some bunkers on the right side, but I was able to carry them just based off shooting with my rangefinder. It's very important when you do not know the course to shoot stuff with your rangefinder because you do not want to end up hitting a good shot and ending up in a bad position. I found that this hole definitely had a lot of rollout depending on how far you would to carry it. If you were to cut across the bunker, you would end up having a lot shorter approach into the green. Even though this hole is playing 432, I actually have a shorter club into the green, and that is because of the contours of the fairway. So like I said before, it doesn't really matter how long a hole is. You might end up hitting shorter clubs into greens just depending on where you hit it and how the green and the fairways flow. Next up, we have a par 3, and up to this point, I still felt like I didn't really know what the greens were going to do. I did not feel like they were going to stop as soon as they were going to hit the green, which was actually what was happening around this green. So I did later pay attention to that, as you will be able to see. But because of that, I was just playing to carry this over that bunker in front of the green. So I was not really playing to carry it all the way to the pin because I assumed hitting a longer iron would allow more roll out. But as you can see here, the ball wasn't really doing much. So this course and the conditions, it could be because of the amount of rain that we were getting in Austin or just because of the type of greens, really reminded me a lot of home and how the greens at home, most of the time when I was talking about playing golf at home, I would talk about playing carry distance because you would have to make sure that you carried it all the way to the hole. If not, you're going to end up short like I did over here. So next up we have a par 5. It's the most narrow tee shot that we've seen so far. I couldn't really tell from the tee box, but it definitely looked like you wanted to stay away from the left side. You can see the bunker down the right side, but I think that based on what I shot, I had enough to carry the bunker, so I knew that if anything, I wanted to favor the right side of this fairway. The wind blew that a lot more than I thought it was going to. It started off straight and then it just kept drifting right, but I think it should be okay. So like I predicted, the left side is definitely a no-go area on this hole. However, I went a little bit too far right and almost got blocked by this tree. There is only one big tree out on the right side though, so I feel like either way the right side of this fairway is definitely the much smarter play because it is a pretty big tree, but it's also a par 5, so there's a lot of space left and right of it, and either way, if you were to be right behind it, you would still be able to hit some kind of shot just to be able to get yourself out there, especially because it is a par 5. It's raining. Honestly, I would play in this rain, but there's no cover on the back of this, and I don't have like a cover for my golf bag. And I'm also the only one out here right now, so I might as well just wait for it to settle down. But yeah, I think one of the reasons, if you guys are wondering why, it's because it's been raining a lot in Austin. It's not that I'm causing the rain, okay? The things I do for you guys. So I was playing that chip to have a little bit more run out, but obviously with the conditions it did not. But also, as you can see here, I think I kind of hit it into the line of where the water is draining on this green, and that is why it ended up not going forward. And also, as you can see, I did tell myself to putt it harder, but I still ended up short. So that definitely was where the water is draining, and you should pay attention to that because that can definitely affect the speed of your putt. So this was definitely the most open hole so far. There's basically nothing out there. You can hit it as far as you can. However, it was pretty windy during this time, and I would say that one of the things that you need to pay attention to, especially when it's windy and you're hitting wedges, is distance control. Because hitting wedges, obviously your ball goes higher, so it is much easier for it to be affected by the wind. And I think sometimes we take that for granted because we think it's a short club, it's a short distance, we can just hit whatever we are used to. I feel like I almost shanked that. Gotta clarify this, guys. When I said I almost shanked that, it's not because I hit a bad shot and I almost shanked the shot. It's because my glove almost like made me slip. And I've said this before, but a lot of people actually don't know this. Rain gloves need to be wet in order to work. If not, they're just very slippery. The next hole, hole 6, is a par 4. It's decent length, so you do want to try to get yourself a good drive out there. And there is a lot of space down the left side than it looks because you kind of have to hit it over a little tree down the center of the fairway and the bunker, which kind of makes you want to think that there's no space, but there actually is. So you have to be cautious on this hole because down the right side it actually kicks right as well. So I feel like choosing a good target here is important, especially when you don't really know where to go. I did end up kicking a little bit right, but it was still in the fairway or just into the rough, so it wasn't too bad. I still had a pretty long waist though, and this green was very wide but not very tall. So I hope that makes sense. It was just a very long green sideways but not from the front to the back. So distance control for greens like this is very important so that you give yourself a putt. So I was definitely still having a hard time adjusting to the speed of the greens because I felt like when I hit it harder, it just would not go in. And if I hit it shorter, obviously it's not going to get to the hole. But anyway, let's move on to the next hole, which is hole 7. Hole 7 is kind of the opposite of the previous hole in terms of the approach shot because it is a pretty skinny green, but it is pretty long. So for this hole, I feel like directionally it's more important than hitting it the right distance. Obviously, you still need to get a decent distance to get it on the green, but you just have a lot more leeway distance-wise versus direction-wise, especially because it's a pretty long par 3, so I'm still hitting a pretty long iron. Don't really know what's up there, but my aim is going to be to like cut the corner there because that tree is only 182. Well, it was a good shot, but there's a hazard in front of the green, I think, and it's still pretty far. So I don't think I can carry that hazard, so I'm still gonna have to hit towards the safer side. But one of the things that's nice about playing a course that you don't really know and hitting to places that you don't know what's out there is it really is more of like an exercise in the trust that you can have in your swing, knowing just to pick a target and going for it, because you know at the end of the day it's either you hit a good shot and you end up in a good spot, or you hit a bad shot anyway. So you might as well just try to focus on the target and hit the best shot you possibly can. But sometimes when you already know what's out there, when you know like, okay, this is my bailout area, or like I can't go here, then it kind of gives you that like leeway to hit a less than perfect shot. Whereas when you're just trying to go for a certain target and just choosing a target but you don't really know what's out there, you're just trying to hit the best shot you possibly can. I think that's actually when you hit better shots. A good thing to do when you're playing a course that you have never played before, of course this is given that you're not going to hold anybody up, is to actually park at the green and walk back, especially for like approach shots on a par 5, because then at least you have a chance to see the green. A lot of times like we hit into these greens not knowing what's going to happen because we don't know the contour of the greens yet because it's a brand new course. So you end up hitting good shots and not getting rewarded because you don't know what the like contours of the green look like. So give yourself the best chance, just go and look at the green, take some time. One thing about the greens here though, they really catch your ball. Like it's either gonna stop on the spot or it's gonna spin back a lot. Like my ball landed pin high and it's like a good 15 feet from the hole now. Side of the tee box. So this was kind of a weird fairway because I thought it was actually one of those fairways that had two fairways, like you could either choose to go to the left fairway or the right fairway, but in actuality it's actually just a pretty not very narrow but kind of narrow fairway that just all kicks towards the right hazard, because I thought that aiming towards the trees in the center of the fairway would allow it to end up in the center of the fairway, and I actually almost ended up in the hazard. So it's kind of hard to explain, but if you've played this course before, I think you know what I mean. And I'm kind of glad I did not aim towards the left fairway in my head, because I would have ended up probably on the cart path or on the road. So like I said, ball stayed up, stayed dry. So I had an 89-yard shot. But like you can see here, I was looking at my ball because I had mud on the right side of my ball. So usually what happens is when you have mud on the right side of your ball's going to go a little bit left. However, if you look at the pin, you can see that the wind is blowing to the right. And also I'm on a little bit of a downhill lie. So I actually was aiming just to compensate for the mud a little bit, but not too much. And just knowing that if I were to hit it left off the pin, I would probably still give myself a better putt. Versus if I were to hit it right and it kicked further right because it's going to go further away from the pin.